Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for attracting a Gemini lover. And Gemini is a mutable air sign. So there's always that kind of versatile energy surrounding a Gemini person. They tend to be a master of many different trades and have many interests. And it's helpful if you can demonstrate that same sort of interest in many different things, because Geminis, like Aries, tend to get bored very easily. For Gemini, there's a love of variety. They don't like to do the same things all the time, be in the same place, and things like that. So the fixed signs, we're talking about Taurus, we're talking about Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, they tend to like to go to the same restaurants all the time, like to order the same dishes, all the things that we associate with getting in this rut. Well, I mean, that's kind of a value judgment, just familiarity. But for Gemini, familiarity breeds contempt. Being an air sign, Gemini comes to life and experiences life through the mind, through the intellect. So it's important for a Gemini person, and they could be a high school dropout for that matter, that they are mentally stimulated. And this is because it is entirely possible for a Gemini who happens to be a high school dropout to be self-taught, self-educated, and be quite well-educated at that, be well-read. A Gemini person has natural intelligence, and they have a curiosity for life. And if you're the sort of person who doesn't read, if you do not keep up on current events, if you are, not oriented in that way, the Gemini person will quickly lose interest. This is the point in the video where I say that you are who you are. So this recording is not meant to suggest that you twist yourself into a pretzel to become what somebody else wants you to be. You can't do that. Even if you tried, it's eventually going to be exposed. And besides, it's really false advertising. You're pretending to be something you're not and sucking somebody in, and it doesn't work in the long term. And actually, a Gemini person is someone who is very against jealousy and possessiveness. So that's a big one with people, and that's an important thing for you to know if you are interested in attracting this person. If you're a Taurus, if you're a Scorpio, if you are a Leo even, you have a tendency towards jealousy, suspicion. Well, with Leo, there's just a desire to be the center of somebody's existence, I guess. And a Gemini person can be flirtatious. It doesn't mean that they're disloyal necessarily, but they certainly enjoy interacting with different people. And that could include someone that you feel they're flirting with. If you are easily triggered in terms of jealousy, please don't go with this type of person or try to attract this type of person only to create drama in their life. I think that sometimes opposites can help each other to learn things that they don't know. I'm not suggesting that we have cookie cutter partners, but when people are wildly divergent, that's when a lot of inharmony is created and a lot of drama is generated. So that's why I say what I do. A Gemini person is funny. They're not going to take life so seriously. So if you're a serious person, if you're a Cancer, and you just are, maybe you're always worrying about something, or you're just very, I don't want to say moody, but just kind of like serious, or a Capricorn person. That it's important that you understand that Gemini sees the world in a different way. And as a result, you may judge them as being shallow and want them to take life more seriously. Again, that's a mistake. To try to alter somebody's basic nature is not really fair, but it's also not going to happen. So if you can't accept that going into it, then don't even bother. And this is the other thing too, when we talk about emotions, because I mentioned that they are kind of light, there's a shallowness. Gemini people do not like heavy emotions. Now, even if you are somebody who's madly in love with a Gemini and you express that to them, they may shy away from that. They may feel uncomfortable because probably in their mind they're thinking, does this mean that I'm going to totally lose my freedom? I can't do anything because this person loves me. That's how they hear what you're saying. Whereas another sign might say, oh, he loves me or she loves me. I feel like emotionally fulfilled. For the Gemini person, they feel smothered. And in terms of what I said about not taking life too seriously, Gemini people love wordplay, especially in terms of their humor. So double entendres and anything that, is a play on words. And they love trivia. They love gossip. They love things that are just kind of information that's disposable. Let's put it that way. And social media, they may be social media addicts. And this can be aggravating to certain types of people. Like I'm thinking of Scorpio, which detests anything they perceive as shallow. And I would love to do a survey. Maybe I will do it when I get my Facebook page set up, where I ask everybody, each sign, and I do a poll, like, how do you feel about Facebook? How do you feel about Instagram? And see how it plays out by sign. Because I have a feeling that the Scorpios will be the most disdainful of Facebook and that sort of thing. One reason is because Scorpios don't like to expose themselves in terms of their private information, but also the kind of, surface stuff, the pictures versus the reality behind those pictures. And Gemini loves anything they can consume that has to do with little tidbits of news and gossip, updates from their friends and family. And that's how they like to interact with people on that level. But it can be a little bit aggravating if you're trying to connect emotionally, because this sign, out of maybe all the signs, could possibly be the most challenged in this way. If you happen to be a Gemini listening to this, understand that I'm talking about the archetype of Gemini itself. I'm not talking about the shades of gray or, whatever you want to call it. The different influences from other heavenly bodies, like the moon or Venus or something like that. So I'm just going strictly on the Gemini aspect of it. And what else? Well, in terms of commitment, if you're somebody who's looking for a commitment right away, let me just say, even as you go along in the relationship, even after a year, the Gemini person lives in the moment. And so they're not looking 5 years down the line and saying, oh, well, I want to be married and I want to have children. I have a feeling that a lot of Gemini people will fall into things, but they won't necessarily plan for them because they really are quite whimsical. And this can lead to them not really wanting to talk about the future. And that can also be aggravating for certain types of people. Again, the usual suspects, Taurus, Cancer, wanting those guarantees, wanting that feeling of safety in knowing what the future will bring. This is one of the reasons why there are certain basic traits that sometimes we don't pinpoint when we are trying to decide what are good qualities in a partner that you have to really look at. Because if you're the kind of person who's a planner, who likes to, know what you're going to do 5 years from now, and you're with somebody who is, especially, I would say, like an air sign or a fire sign person in general, this will be true, but especially for a sign like Gemini, which is a mutable sign, also ruled by Mercury, mercurial, changeable, you're going to pull out your hair and you're probably going to be bald in a few years because this type of person is simply changeable, and they also are not interested in looking at something long term. They're just interested in the now moment. And really, in their defense, that's all that we have. We don't know that what's happening in 5 years. So I'm not saying that the Gemini person is wrong for being like that. And actually, sometimes people who are planners are never living in the current moment. So it's an interesting dilemma there. And I touched upon Gemini being mercurial. You're going to have to accept a very important reality when it comes to Gemini. You can't really pin them down. You can't pin them down physically. I think that Gemini, possibly more than any other sign, although I'm sure Pisces can give them a run for their money, is the kind of sign that you try to contact them and you can't get a hold of them. You try to figure out where they're going to be and they don't know because they're all over the place. Being ruled by Mercury means that anything goes. Anything is possible. They can change their mind at the last minute, at a drop of a dime. And if you are a Taurus person, any fixed sign, even a Leo, which would tend to get along with a Gemini person, or an Aquarian that is also an air sign, it will drive you bonkers sometimes how they can flip the script right when you think you're going to do something, right when you think they think something about an issue, and then they turn around and they have a different opinion. They have, and you point out to them, but yesterday you said this. It doesn't matter what, yesterday's gone. Today is today. Tomorrow could be something different. And there can be this fickle quality of Gemini. And if that disturbs you, which it can be kind of unnerving to witness, because you start to wonder if there are any core beliefs within this person, because they seem to shift so rapidly from one thing to the next. And God help them if they have Libra in addition to that Gemini. But it can be kind of crazy making. And so you have to be able to roll with the changes, because there's going to be a lot of them. That might be your theme song, living with a Gemini person. But anyway, they certainly are compelling. They're very entertaining companions. And I think that that is one of the things that attracts people to them first and foremost. Not even looking at their physical appearance. They are just very charismatic because they are very fun to be around, clever. So that's another thing too. You better have your game down when it comes to having a quick wit yourself, because they might say that you're lame if you're like saying things that are like trying to keep up with them, and you can't. Then you might as well not even say anything at all, because they'll say lame. And yeah, things like that. Then Gemini is just, one more thing I want to say. This is very important. Gemini loves to talk. So if you're somebody who is kind of a clam, and you clam up a lot, that might not fly with Gemini. They may be very put off by that. Sometimes in relationships, I witnessed it myself, where you go to a restaurant or what have you, and there are two people, and they've probably been married for 30 years or something like that, but they're sitting there and they're both reading their newspapers or they're doing their own thing. And I think to myself, my God, how can they, stand it? But maybe they're both those types of people where they don't need to talk. I'm not a Gemini, but I need to talk. And I need my partner to talk. And a Gemini person needs their partner to talk. You cannot probably go very far if you're not somebody who likes to talk. And if people who talk too much drive you crazy, you may be certifiable by the end of a relationship with a Gemini person, because they do like to talk. And I know some people find that very irritating. Even like moderate talk, some people find irritating. So it's very important that you are the chatty type of person. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.